when I first met her, she was working at Field as a, what was your exact title?
Brand catalyst.
A brand catalyst.
Feel. It's an agency just over here off Buffalo. The agency is my age.
Okay. Oh.
They started it the year their daughter was born, and their daughter and I are the same.
Okay.
And so they were a brand agency before brand agencies existed. They really were a full generation ahead of themselves. The Fields have since retired. The other management partner that was one of my main mentors has since retired, and I think they've switched to being a little bit more of a digital agency. But they really did branding in a way that people want to do branding now, and they've been doing it since 1980.
And I met her, so I was looking at really redoing our brand. This was Darren Fisher Consulting before Spirity. Say, I want to get my brand right. I want to make sure it's all good. And she was the person who I worked with to get us so started. And when I met her, it's like, it's my girl. Like we just clicked. Like from day one, she's passionate, super duper smart, relatable, just super awesomeness. And then, so a question for you, what made you decide to say, I need a coach?
I met you. But I was being recruited by another agency in town, and I loved it. I loved the work I was doing. I loved the education I was getting, but I kind of was like, I might have hit what I could achieve here. And so when I got recruited by another firm, then I was going to be leveling up into the executive ranks in a more traditional place. And so the very first person I called was Aaron, and I was like, I need to know how to executive. And so started coaching through that, got promoted into a director position within the first 6 months of my being there, and then eventually became a creative director and helped build their creative department. And then I was like, I think I'm bored now. And Darren's like, well, I've been telling you for years that you're an entrepreneur. Like, he's just, from the moment he met me, he was like, you're gonna start your own business someday. And I was like, well, that sounds hard. You've got a lot of stress as it is. And so when it finally came down to it, when I finally was able to take a look at what I really wanted my life to look like, and what I wanted my career to look like, and what I wanted my industry to look like, I knew that was something that I had to do the way that I wanted to do it. And so here we are. I just hit 2 years in business at the end of Q1, so Q2. I started my business in Q2 of 2022. And so now I am between 3
Let's set that up. All right, so you're in, like I said, I just knew from the time I met her, she's an entrepreneur. Like everything she talks about, like it's so funny. People tell you a story, but what they're saying doesn't really match what they're doing. And for her, everything always came back to she had a vision for the way things could be. And every place she was in, they always did this. They stopped her. And she kept saying, well, no, we can do it like this. Like, no, you do this. And I knew that she decided to do her own thing, so love that. When you left, so you were making $76,000. Was that?
I left to make up. I was at 83.
83. Okay, so 83. And so you start on your own, and you get out in that first year, 2022. You did how much in business?
$65,000.
Okay. So on your own, boom. Last year, what did you do?
I did $350,000.
Year to date, what have you done?
I have not just invoiced but received. I'm up to 550 with another 150 that is sold.
So 700,000 so far in June. And I'm operating at a 20% profit. Okay, so this is why I want her to come up. Because we're going to talk about how do we peel this back, because you go from W-2 to CEO to CEO to like killing it, all right? And I think there's a mindset that you have that to me is the reason why you got there. And as I'm talking to her, think about what questions you may want to have for her. In that I think her values are very achievable. Her work ethic is achievable. We'll sort of see what degree she talks about the background story behind all of this too, because there's some things we've been through as a part of this too. But what she's doing, you can do. And that's all the speakers we have up here. It's not like, oh my gosh, they were this person, they were born into it, they weren't. They worked their butts off and you can do the same thing. So given that. Why didn't you go out when we said, look, more you're a CEO, telling you this, it's in you. But it took you a good 5 years, 7 years, now I'm realizing 7 years to get to that place.
Yeah.
What would you tell Morgan then when I first saw you, or why did it take so long for you to be what you truly are?
Well, I think the number one thing is I need to see myself that way.
Okay.
But also I didn't really see myself as a leader in what I thought leadership was. I saw myself as a vision fulfiller and a good listener.
Well, someone else's vision. So they cast a vision, I'll make that come to fruition, not me leading it.
Well, I think also part of it too is like a lot of times people hired me because I had a bigger vision than they did. And they needed me to expand their vision for them. And I didn't know, and it was funny because I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so it's not like I don't know what that's like. But I really, also part of it is I was working with really resourced people. And so I thought that I would be able to get farther by using my passion alongside their resources to elevate them in a meaningful way. That they had more going for them for that, more reputational cachet. And I like to be, the person behind the person, shining the light on them and helping them find out what's special about them. And so having to be the one that receives the spotlight is not a comfortable place for me to be. And so on one hand, I don't have the same resources as the really wealthy, connected people that I work with. And then I realized I do later, spoiler alert, I do. And then I also just wasn't sure that I wanted that level of spotlight on me. Because I guess for a long time too, I wasn't sure what that was going to show. What that was going to really highlight. Because when you receive the spotlight, the more public facing you become, the more responsibility that you have to your community and to what's out there, then the more you have to be really true to your values, who you are, and whatever you're ashamed of, people are gonna find out about. And yeah, it's just, it takes some guts to put yourself out there, and I didn't have those before, and now I'm excited. I was a performer, I was a dancer. And part of being a dancer is working your ass off to work on a team. There are very few people in the dance world that become the prima ballerinas. Even the ones who become the prima ballerinas got there by being a teammate. And I've advised CEOs my whole career. I've been very, very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time with the right work ethic to be right next to the CEO for most of the time. And so I know how hard that job is. And I know how much the CEO can affect the whole organization for good and for bad. And I didn't want to have blind spots that would make me, be a force for bad. Mm-hmm. And then I would realize everybody has blind spots, everybody screws up, and everybody makes mistakes. And it's how you bounce back from them and own it and recover and go from there, like, and learn. I mean, honestly, this grading system was one of the biggest things that helped me with that, because it just reset my idea of what failure was. Like, for me, it helped me redefine what failure was. So, you know, it's always like, oh, I failed, what's fail? Oh, and, you know, everything that, like, the minor's failure, I would always be like, oh, I'm just beating myself up about it. And now, I don't feel that way. Now I'm like, let's fail. Let's fail hard, let's fail fast, let's fail strong. And then everybody tell me what didn't work, and then what did work. And so I think that was a big part of it. It's just finally being like, oh, I'm gonna fail every day, all day long. But I'm gonna do it, and I'm not gonna be embarrassed, I'm not gonna be ashamed.
So what would you tell yourself now, looking back? Because there were a couple of things I could peel back on what you were saying. I didn't really see it in myself. I didn't see myself as a leader. I didn't really want the spotlight. I didn't want. But we can agree that was made up.
Yeah.
Like, that was totally a perception that was sort of off. So what would you tell yourself? Because some people are still thinking like that are listening now. What would you tell yourself differently, or how could you short circuit that or get around that now? What would you say?
I would say, actually, I'm going to quote Trey Anastasio. I don't know. Okay, nobody else likes fish here. One of my deepest, darkest secrets is that I am a major fish fan, and I've been to over 100 shows, and I tour with them often. Wow. And so
often. Like summertime,
yeah,
kicking it.
Do you hang out in restrooms on the freeway with the group?
No, I have not yet, but that would be a dream.
I run into fish people, at odd places.
I didn't go to the Sphere. But so Trey was on a podcast interview, and they asked Trey, what would you tell yourself when you were younger? What would you like to tell young Trey? And he was like, I just want to tell you are forging a path. That, like, no matter where you're going, like, you are doing something. And so that is kind of what I would want to tell myself back then, is that you will forge a path. It is not going to be clear. You're not going to know that you're on it, and because nobody else has done it, but you're doing it, and you're forging a true path. And that also, nobody is good. Nobody's a good leader, but everybody's a good leader. We don't come into this world good at any of this stuff. And then all you have to do is humble yourself with that, I don't know anything. I know nothing. And so, but I bet I could find out. And then just keep finding it out until you get somewhere and you look back and go, oh wow, I forged an actual path. I did it. And now it gets clearer and clearer every step.
100%. And you were a great leader. Saw that in you from day one. Like, I think that people just can't see themselves for what other people see, and sometimes there's a trust what another person says, and you're good at that. Like, you've always trusted, no matter what we talk about, you've done it, and then excelled at it. Which sort of leads me to, there was an exercise that I had you do, that you had to write, go and talk to your dad.
My dad's going to be here this weekend.
Okay. She actually likes that when your dad, like, this whole thing. So part of her perception, she said, I didn't see it in myself. So I had her do this exercise where she went and talked to her dad and asked your dad, how does he see you? How did he describe you in his perception of you?
I can't remember all of the exact words he said, but my dad and I are very, very, very close. And he's my favorite person to just spend time with, but he's also, 76 and wasn't really, they don't really talk about emotions, that generation. So it was hard to like, hey dad, can we talk about our emotions for a second? He was so mother's for. But I asked him, how do you see me? And the way that he reflected me back to myself was so meaningful for me, because he did see me as a leader. And he seen me as a leader from the time I was a little girl. And that I was a kind leader. And that was the most important thing. That was what he was really proud of. That I have always had, he's like, I always make everything more exciting when I'm around, which I really appreciated. he was like, you certainly made my life more exciting the second you got in there. When I was a little girl, he would come home for lunch every day. I grew up in a really small house, so it was really easy. And, he never knew what he was going to wander into when he got there. And so like I went through a Snow White phase, and he would walk in, and there'd be an apple with one bite taken out, and you have to go find me, and then kiss me to awake me, and then we would so he also recognized me as a sophisticated storyteller from a very early age. And he had a lot to do with that. I think I mentioned before I had ADHD, so I was a very like rambunctious child. And one of the ways that he kept me tethered or kept me grounded when we would be in church or someplace is he would write stories with me. So he would start a story, and then I would have to write the next line. And so we would just go and we build the story out, And so like by the end of church, we'd have a church bulletin filled with some like funny story that we'd written. And he said that he was always so impressed with how I understood narratives in the time I was very, very, very little. And so that is really one of the most valuable things I have in my career. It's one of the things I'm most passionate about. And my dad is probably the most brilliant storyteller I know. So the fact that he recognized that in me made me really proud and confident that I do have that skill set to bring to the world.
Love that. What was different about the way you perceived yourself and how he saw you?
I think it's because like your parents, when they're giving you the like tough love feedback that you need to grow, you internalize that a lot, and that's what you remember. You don't always remember the fact, like the other things that they say to you and that they gave you until you actively go out and pursue the thought of that. And so, I'm someone who's very hard on myself, and so I internalize a lot of criticism, and I don't internalize a lot of praise. And so to realize that his perception of me was not based in any of the criticism he received in me, or the criticism he'd given me throughout the years, was just weird. I mean, he wasn't he was just, like, don't touch the stove. I'm like, why? Okay. But the fact that he perceived me for all the strengths that I had, for how hard I worked to be good to the world, how much I love other people, how much I give so much of myself to other people, and the fact that he really thinks I'm a special storyteller, that hit me in a way that was really special and wonderful, that he saw me as who I wanted to be, and it turns out he saw me as like really who I am, and so maybe I can start seeing myself that way.
100%. So there was a big difference between the perception and how the love that he was given wasn't necessarily being received. And that self-perception really didn't allow her to value herself, so she was self-sabotage. Then when she went back and actually had a conversation with him and saw what he saw, totally changed her whole view of what she could pursue, because she moved from being a human doing to a human being. And that value really made a difference. So now looking to the business side, I mean, you've had like outstanding growth from when we started to now. What are some things that you believe are the reason why you've had such incredible growth and scale?
For me, the biggest thing is the community of people I have around me. That you don't do this by yourself. We have kind of this perception that like you're in charge of your business, you. And the greatest success I've come is by leaning on the people around me. Trusting a little bit of my own gut too, but also,
a little bit of your own gut?
Yeah, trusting a lot. Like it is all gut. It's just like sure. This feels right. We'll find out if it is right. And if it isn't, we'll get it.
That's it.
But I have a really amazing team. There's 3 of us. We're a team of 3, as well as other partners that I partner with. the spirit of community. Like obviously you and I have been close for a lot of years, but then the community that I built from this community has been really valuable. Like, I know I can walk up to Michael at any time. Michael got me my divorce lawyer. Like this is how important. But then also lean on my team members to use their expertise to help me in ways I didn't even ask for. It is lean on your friends when you're going through a hard time to just be like, I'm not well, friends. I don't know what else to say. What do you got? Say something funny or something. But then also being able to discern like when you should listen and when you shouldn't, when you can just toss something to the side and be like, that is actually very unhelpful, but thank you for your feedback. Usually that person is in my head, but it really is starting to, I think it's the discernment. It's tuning into what you want to put your energy toward versus what you can let go and just send down the river.
How do you know? So we've been coaching for a while. Like, how do you know what those things are? Like, because you're one of my best listened to clients. Like, if I give you advice, you just follow it. And there must be some. I think that that's part of it though. Like, you can't. So one of the hard parts for me is I'm operating from a 5-year, 3-year, 1 year, 90 days tomorrow is sort of my window. And I gotta make sure I'm giving advice on all those things. So I'll give people things that, hey, we're doing this. Like I'm telling her you're an entrepreneur. But it didn't mean I knew it wouldn't be like the next week. But when things kept getting bad, it was always like, well, why are you doing this to yourself? Like why are you putting up with an abusive relationship in a business that does not value you? Like there's something, you have a value issue. I value you. Your dad values you. You have to value you. And you don't have to prove your value to them. And so that it takes time to get to that place. And then when you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're really right. So there's some reason why you apply it. Like there's a humility to do that. What is that? Why do you think that is?
Well, I only listen to things that make sense to me. So like you and I have always just been kind of on the same page. So your experience with my taking your advice is different than I think a lot of people's experience. Even though it does take, because there are times where like, hey, do you remember that thing I've been fighting with you for like 6 months? I'm like, I get it now. I see it. I understand it.
She does literally come back and say, you know, I've been fighting, you're dishonest, blah, 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 but okay, I get it now.
I get it.
And it works.
But so yeah, it really, a lot of it is instinct, and a lot of it is also just knowing the narrative. Like strategy is narrative. I never took a single business class my entire life. I was a storyteller, an artist, and when I realized that business strategy, is just another narrative, and that like the strategic downfalls are just plot holes. I was like, oh, now this is game changer. Now I get it. So it's like if it doesn't fit the narrative, if it like is a plot hole, if it isn't giving that, I don't know, that's just the feeling. It's instinctual in a lot of ways. One of my friends has hypothesized that us both having OCD is actually helpful in that way, because if anything's like a roll, we gotta balance, like, oh, like that. Like, and it's just that psychological reaction to it. And so I think it's just like, I set my narrative for the story that I want my life to be following, and if it doesn't fit that story, then that's not for me.
Makes sense. Okay, so do you guys have questions that you guys have for her that you want to know? Yeah, please.
I love this plot hole concept, right? That it's, instead of making up a story that, oh, what was me, this is actually the direction I'm going, it's just a if I'm following you, right? Plot hole is just like in a book where we just went, somehow the author went off on a tangent and that's going nowhere and we need to bring it back to the storyline. Is that what I
Yeah.
the plot
It's
hole?
sort of like, if anybody watched Lost, like, what's with all the Egyptian stuff?
Yeah. Okay. So how do you give us an example, if you don't mind, a specific example of a plot hole that you found yourself in and how you got out of it?
How I got out of it. That's really okay. I think, yeah.
So, tell the story about how you were working for you got an opportunity to do work for the railroad, and it was payments were getting questioned, and it became a very difficult situation where it's really going a direction you don't want, and now it's been turned around where now you're doing work for the same company, so you want to get a background around that.
So this is
That's a really complicated one.
It was a plot. Just give a short to the point around how'd you get the client?
I was married to him.
Okay. and there was the marriage was it was a big break for you to get this opportunity in the railroads. Then after a while they went bad. What went sour?
The marriage.
The marriage went sour. So think about this: your biggest client, you get the biggest opportunity, you're married, now you're getting divorced. How could that go wrong? I'm sure. All right, wormhole, totally different direction. Okay, so how did it turn around?
So, we got tourists. But also, so part of my business model here is I want to help organizations set their brand strategy and then scale. So consult myself out of a job. That's the role of a consultant. Consult yourself out of a job. When things were not good between my ex-husband and me, and it was affecting business, on his side and my side, I was like, okay, well, we just need to make the business not about his and my relationship and set it up. I hired internally someone who could manage the account and be their go-to person, and then also worked with them so they could hire somebody internally, which was the goal all along anyway. And so I really consider that a success. So they hired a marketing coordinator who is great. She is just great. I adore her. And she is exactly what they need for that internal role there.
Regardless, had nothing to do with you. They needed her anyways.
They needed her anyway.
Anyways, you just are like, okay, got it, saw that.
And so now she, in a lot of ways, I'm her mentor. So I still have, they're still my client. And it's still a great account. And it is, I'm very proud that we've been able to maintain that relationship. And so my team handles a lot of the stuff business-wise through him, so that it doesn't have to be contentious. And a lot of the strategic work I'm working with now, I work directly with her. Fortunately, my ex-husband, while the marriage didn't work out, is a man of integrity as well. So he was like, yes, let's figure this out. So even though he hated me personally very much at the time, he still respected me professionally. So.
But you see how she's still solving business problems at all times. And that's how she thinks. And from the time I met her, she's always thought like that. It wasn't about, oh, how does this benefit me? It's like, what really is the problem we're solving?
And you separated the business from the personal side, right? I mean, we are the person, we are the business, right? But you found a way to create some separation between that. So
it can be beneficial to everybody.
Yeah.
And you could be going through something pretty harrowing, because I don't know if anybody here has been through divorce, but it's brutal. It is a really, really, really brutal thing. And because nobody gets married if they're gonna get divorced. And it's just, I didn't see it coming, I didn't know. And so dealing with the heartbreak of it all, and we kept the nastiness to the personal side of things, fortunately, and so we were still able to move forward because business isn't just him and me. I think we both kind of agreed too that whatever's going on with us, we both have teams of people around us that need to be able to feel comfortable and happy and safe when they show up to work. They need to get their job done. Our shit is not their problem. And so we had talked about, like, we just part ways. Even just parting ways would have been making out shit someone else's problem, because they would have had to find another agency, they would have had to they do very complicated machinery in a very complicated business setting. I've worked in rail for 12 years, so I know a lot of the minutiae that need to be taken care of. And so even parting ways altogether would have made our problems their problems. And so we just figured out a way to have our own problems when we have them, not make it an issue for everybody else, and then try to still serve the communities that we need to serve the best way we can.
So I can relate a lot to, I like to call it number two. I like to play number two a lot before I started my business, where I was okay being behind the scenes, but yet I was there helping you get to where you wanted to go. So when you transitioned from kind of that to your own business, was there like an aha moment that gave you the confidence of like, yeah, I can do that, like you killed a client? Or did you have a strategy, like working with Darren or something that helped take you from being number two to number one? Or, you know what I mean? Because sometimes we know that we can do it, but finally we reach that point where we're like, yes, I believe now I can do it, even though I'm doing it.
The biggest thing for me was I got my number two. I got a VA, and her name is Sophie, and she is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. So I was really struggling last year around this time. I had just lost a very good friend tragically, and my marriage was falling apart, and I was just like, I can't keep my shit together at all. Like, I just need someone who can at least help me keep my inbox straight, because like I don't have anything in the tank right now. Like, it was getting so bad that like I couldn't, like, my memory was shot. I couldn't remember what was happening from day to day. I couldn't remember, like, one of my biggest gifts is that when I am working with a client, I know their strategy better than they do. I know every little thing that's happening in their business, every thing that's plaguing every person in there, and I couldn't keep any of it straight anymore, just because I was wrecked. So I went through this company called Belay, and a friend of mine was like, all you have to do is interview you and then hook you up with someone. It's the lowest labor thing on your, and I was like, just give it to me. I didn't even do a financial analysis of what I could afford it. I was just give it to me because I can't, like, I need something. And so they interviewed me, and then they introduced me to Sophie, and she has run this business this year in so many ways. She set up systems with me. She has told me to shut my computer off and take a nap and rest and be good to myself. She allows me to take the time I need. I just was with some friends celebrating our friend's life that we lost last year. Sorry. We're with me, take it. And she let me grieve. Because the time the man I was married to, let me grieve. And I was able to be a human because of Sophie, and not just a loss.
I let her pull in. This is why I love her. This is more. It's like, this is our stuff. Sometimes these are our meetings, our events. Like, just be human, because I believe this is the greatness is a lot on a person. If you're going to really pursue changing the world, which is what she's trying to do, there's internal, external, all these pressures on you all the time, and then there's just life. And she's so resilient and so wonderful, and she could lash out and get vengeance and all those things that humans do. She doesn't do that. She keeps going in the midst of it, and she ends up in a better position than she was before that. That's why I just love her pieces. Like, this is greatness right here. So,
and this is what I want for the world. Because one of the things about the pandemic that I think that made everything different is we really saw into each other's lives in a way. that business and personal, we realized we're all humans here. You know, we got guys in the BBC whose daughter is like toddling on it, and his wife's like swooping in to save her. But we all lost people during the pandemic too, and we all had to grieve that together. And we all realized that we have to sort of be in this together. And so I don't think we should discourage people from crying about loss in front of others and feeling that together. Because every tragedy that I've had in the last several years, or about 20, every single time I open up about it, it helps somebody else heal too. Because we've all experienced loss. We're all going through different stressors. We are all doing the best we can with what we're given at any given moment. And I'm not ashamed that I live a life. I'm not ashamed that I have a human life and that it can be a lot sometimes. And that sometimes crying it out and then moving on is exactly what you gotta do. And so I don't want to be someone that hides my humanity and my pain and my struggles, because I, right now, am reaping the rewards of some very hard work through some very hard times. And I mean that personally and professionally. My relationships are deeper now than they were a year ago. My business is successful beyond what I ever could imagine for myself at this moment in time. When I started my business, I had this secret goal that I didn't share with Karen that I wanted to be a speaker here as part of my success factor. And so I was like,
You didn't know that till just now?
You're right this second. I did not know that.
I was like, I know, like one of my big success metrics is when Darren asked me to be a guest speaker at Reset. It was feedback, so that. So it means a lot to me, yeah.
See, I'm not gonna cry. Okay, I'm not. But that just good news. Hey, you see why I love her.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, more questions. We gotta cut this off. This is getting personal. Hey, so you must have a little bit of shit.
Alright, so my question is, as far as knowing what problems to solve, right? So like you are on the strategy side, I like numbers and data, like it's a very different field. So how do you know? Is it just how do you know, what's your process to figure out what problem to solve? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's constant. And numbers and data help. I love numbers and data. I'm a research girl. Like that is one of the biggest pieces of everything I do is research. And if I can quantify it, even better. But it is starting with that top level set of goals. You know, what are my annual goals, or what is it that I'm really trying to achieve? It's also having a set vision. So my vision for starting my business was a better life, because I wanted a better life for myself. I wanted a way better life from what I was getting professionally, because I love my work. I love my work so much, but I didn't like the environment I was in. And so starting with my vision of better life, everything aims towards that. I want a better life for my clients. I want a better life for my employees. I want a better life for everybody that my business touches. And so what does that mean, and does this achieve that? And then, you break that down to, it's like, all right, so I'm gonna have a better life this year. All right, we're gonna make $1 million. We're gonna, we're gonna scale our processes. We're gonna do this. And then, so every single decision, since I have that high level understanding of what I'm doing, broken down to the end, like quarterly, broken down to the monthly, broken down to the daily. Does this help me achieve the goal that ladders back up there? So is this a problem I have to solve now? Is this a problem I have to solve? Or is this something that I can, delegate, put off, look at through a slightly different lens? Sometimes if you just go, you're looking at something like this, and then you just go, new solution. I just did that with a client. I was going through the research, and I was like, I don't see it. I don't see it. I was, what's wrong with me? I don't see anything. This is what I do. I see it, and I express it. And I was like, oh, you want to know what I see? There isn't a thing here yet. There's no business here yet. There's no here. And I can't do that for this person. This person needs to be able to do that for their own leadership journey. So I sent them back to Spirit. And so that's also part of the community aspect of it too, is I didn't just feel like I can't help you buy. It's like, I can't help you, but send him to Michael. Michael can help you with this part of it. I sent him to another friend of mine who I knew would get along really well with him, who, like, she can help you with the tech side of this, because you need to start thinking how you're going to tech enable what you're doing into the future. So I'm not going to give you your vision, because I don't do that for people anymore. But I will help point you to the people that can help you achieve it. So.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, this wasn't supposed to be a opportunity for you to fulfill that vision. Like, that wasn't the purpose. Because I just know you're great, and I thought you represented us well. The reason why I chose her was, a lot of times we want an outside person to come in and tell their story, but well, every person we've had up here, you can get their cell phone number, you can see them. I hope you leverage her, have a conversation with her. She is real, she's raw, but she's great. Like, next level great. And if you want to get to that place like that, I believe you can do this. And so thank you, and just love you.